Good day, children. A warm and delightful welcome to the video session. Children, I hope all of you are helping your parents at home, and I want all of you to stay compassionate to all the people around you, not only the people whom you know, but lend your helping hand to all the people around you. I'm very pleased to tell you all that most of you have responded and sent you your creative poems as mails to me. My appreciation goes to all those who have completed the assignment. Those who haven't completed, try to send it at the earliest. Since you're now thorough with the first poem, The Squirrel, now let's go to the first lesson now. Today we are going to see the first lesson of in your honeycomb book, 3 questions written by Leo Tolstoy. In this video, I'm going to explain the first part of the lesson. I hope all of you are enthusiastic to learn this lesson. Let's get started. The 3 questions is a short story written by Russian author Leo Tolstoy. He is one of the most popular Russian writer. He is one of the most popular novelist and writer. His writings are marked by great faith for God and respect for moral values. In this story is about a king who wants to find out answers for 3 questions. The 3 questions are most important questions for life. He consults wise men, promising them large sum of gold to anyone who could answer those questions. But the answers were too diverse and it did not satisfy the king. So he goes to a hermit in search of his help. The rest of the story revolves around both of them. This story conveys a strong message that we should live in the present moment rather than grumbling about the past and being anxious about future. As the saying goes, yesterday is a history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it is called present. The thought came to a certain king that he would never fail if he knew 3 things. These 3 things were: what is the right time to begin something? Which people should he listen to? What is the most important thing for him to do? The king therefore sent messengers throughout his kingdom, promising a large sum of money to anyone who would answer these 3 questions. Many wise men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. Certain means a particular person or thing. For example, Dhoni or Taj Mahal. Listen to, which means to pay attention, to listen to others. Messenger, person who brings messages. Kingdom, state, region, or a country. Once there lived a king who thought to be a successful ruler, he must know the answer for 3 questions that came to his mind. The questions were: what is the right time to begin something? Which people should he listen to? What is the most important thing for him to do? The king proclaimed that he would give a huge reward to those who answer all 3 questions. He sent his messengers in all directions who could answer his questions. Many wise men came, but the answers were all different. But, but unfortunately, the answers did not satisfy the king. In reply to the first question, some said the king must prepare a timetable and then follow it strictly. Only in this way, they said, could he do everything at its proper time. Others said that it was impossible to decide in advance the right time for doing something. The king should notice all that was going on, avoid foolish pleasures, and always do whatever seemed necessary at that time. Yet others said that the king needed a council of wise men who would help him act at the proper time. This was because one man would find it impossible to decide correctly without help from others, the right time for every action. Council, a group of people chosen to give advice to the king and make rules. For the first question, which was knowing the right time for beginning something, some advised the king that he should chalk out a timetable and follow it strictly. This way, he could do everything proper and effective and efficiently. As per others, it was not possible to decide the suitable time for beginning something. The king should use his common sense and avoid any unnecessary and stupid things. He should do whatever he feels is suitable at that particular moment. But few others said there's a need of a council of wise men in the kingdom in order to help the king in decision making. As king alone and he himself would find it impossible to do it correctly. But then others said that there were some things which could be urgent. These things could not wait for the decision of the council. In order to decide the right time for doing something, it is necessary to look into the future. And only magicians could do that. The king, therefore, would have to go to magicians. In their answers to the second question, some said that the people most necessary to the king were his counselors. Others said the priests. A few others chose the doctors. And yet others said that his soldiers were the most necessary. Urgent means which needs immediate action. Magician, a person who performs magic and is also called as wizard. Counselors, advisors. Priests are said to be the holy men. Some said urgent things can't wait for the decision of the council. In order to know the right time, the king should have divine powers by which he could look into the future, and for doing this, he should seek the help of the magicians. Only they could help him. And in reply to the second question, that is, to which people should the king listen to, some said counselors are the most important. Some gave importance to doctors. Some said soldiers are the most important. To the third question, some said science. Others chose fighting. And yet others religious worship. As the answers to his questions were so different, the king was not satisfied and gave no reward. Instead, he decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. The hermit lived in a wood which he never left. He saw no one but simple people. And so the king put on ordinary clothes. Before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went on alone. Hermit. Hermit means saint. Wisdom. Wisdom means knowledge. In answer to the third question, some said the most important thing was science. Others said fighting. And yet others said religious worship. The king was not satisfied with the answers of the wise men. They all had given different answers to the same question, because of which he was unable to come to a conclusion. So he refused to give the rewards to anyone. The king decided to take the help from a certain hermit who was well known for his knowledge. Hermit is a person who lives lonely in a forest or in a lonely place. The hermit in the story also lives in a lonely forest. He saw no one but simple people. So the king dressed himself as an ordinary man and went to meet the hermit. He left his house with his bodyguard before he reached the hermit's hut and went alone. As the king came near the hermit's hut, he saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. He greeted the king and continued digging. The hermit was old and weak, and as he worked, he breathed heavily. The king went up to the hermit and said, "I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer 3 questions. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I need most? And what affairs are the most important?" The hermit listened to the king, but did not speak. He went on digging. "You are tired," said the king. "Let me take the spade and work in your place." "Thanks," said the hermit, giving the king his spade. Then he sat down on the ground. Spade. Spade is a tool with a metal blade which is used for digging the earth. When the king reached the hut, he saw the hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. He saw the king and then he again continued digging. The hermit was tired and he was breathing heavily. The king now asked the 3 questions to the hermit, but the hermit did not answer. The king requested the hermit to give him the spade because he could feel that the hermit had got tired. The hermit accepted the proposal and thanked the king and gave the spade to him and sat down. When the king had dug 2 beds, he stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit gave no answer, but stood up, stretching out his hand for the spade, and said, "Now you rest and let me work." But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. 1 hour passed, then another. The sun went down behind the trees, and at last the king stuck the spade into the ground and said, "I came to you, wise men, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me no answer, tell me so, and I will return home." "Here comes someone running," said the hermit. Beds. A garden where you can see the flowers growing. The king started digging the ground. He asked his questions to the hermit again, but the hermit did not reply. The hermit asked the king to sit down and he said that he will continue digging, but the king did not give him the spade and he refused and continued to dig. The sun set, but the king did not get any answer from the hermit. So the king was annoyed by the silence of the hermit. So he said to the hermit that he would return home if he does not get the answers, or if the hermit does not know the answers. Just then the king and the hermit saw a man running towards the hut. That's all for today's video, children. Today's lesson, children. I will continue the lesson in my next video session. Today I will give you an assignment based on the completed part of the lesson. I told you the meanings of many new words that you came across. For example, I told you who is called as a counselor. What is meant by a hermit? Who is called as a hermit? Who is called as a priest? I told you what does wisdom mean. I told you about the spade. I gave you the meaning of beds. So I want you to listen to the video again and write down the meanings of all the new words that you learnt. Is that clear, children? You will listen to the video and write down the new words that you learned and the meanings of those words. And if possible, try to frame sentences of those words. When I meet you for the next video session, we shall continue the lesson. You can complete your homeworks and have it with y'all. When I ask for it, you can send it in your English group.